Hey guys. Well, it's been a little bit, but we're back working on the C3500HD. And as you can see behind me, she's sandblasted. Let's take a look. I'm gonna show you what we're doing this week. So there it is. There's the new cab in here. You saw that. But there it is in all its glory. Sandblasted. I don't know if you saw my YouTube short, but I bought a new welder. Really happy with this thing. Got a new cart for it too. I took my old welder to work, so I've got a machine there. But I went with it's a Lincoln. It's Power MIG 211, so it's 175 amp MIG, dual voltage, 120 or 240. I've just used it a little bit, and then of course it costs, it's not just the cost of the welder itself, because I had to buy the cart. I had to buy a 50-foot cord. I had to wire in an outlet, so you can see my quick flex conduit there coming out of my panel. There's my picture just doesn't want to stay up here anymore. There's my outlet, but I had a kind of not exactly legal breaker system going on for the compressor, so it cost me new 30 amp breaker there, new double 50, plus, and in order to make room in the whole panel I had to do some tandem breakers for some of my basic 20 amp circuits. So anyway, shoot, there was a couple $100 there, easy, plus the welder. So anyway, we're a lot of money into it, but the whole reason I jumped and did it was because this thing came back from blast, and well, for one thing, my pan-hard bar welds had come off just from moving around, and the more I looked, the welds looked okay before it went to blast. Once they got sandblasted, I had a lot of cold welds, guys, and the ones where I was welding quarter, like on my frame brackets, those probably would have been okay. It was more a lot of the ones I was welding to the axle. So you can see I've gone through and re-welded everything, burned everything back in. I mean, shoot, just on that bracket there, you can see the level of penetration I got. You can see the heat marks there. So everything is burned in all over again. We did all of it. Frame plates, everything. So I am much more confident with this now. Worked on that a little bit last weekend. Obviously I got 6 wheels blasted too. I just decided I was going to try to maybe break these couple of tires down. To hell with that. We are not doing that. Too much work. We'll deal with that after the fact. So I've got, out of these 2 tires are junk, and that one up there is junk. So those we're just going to paint, leave them be. And then this steer tire up here and these 2 drives that will end up staying on the truck when it's done, I've got to get those masked off. So I may do some swapping of some wheels and tires here, I don't know, but we'll mask those ones off, and we're just going to paint them right on the truck. So I got to get this thing up in the air, elevate that rear suspension a little bit, give me some more room, and we got to protect some stuff around here in the shop. You never know when I'm filming this. This is late May, mid to late May. It's like the 20th today, and it's cold. It rained last night. It's been warm, but a front came in, and you can hear that in the background. I've got the furnace running. It's about to kick off here, but it was 53 degrees in the barn here, so I wanted to dry out the air a little bit after we got some rain, and I wanted to just generally shooting some warmer conditions. So I've got all my paint here ready to go. We've got our direct to metal epoxy primer sealer. Love this stuff. That's a full fresh gallon here. I got a hair a little bit left of my last gallon. I got all my mixing supplies. And then this is, hopefully it's a similar color to the factory GM gray for the wheels, but we're gonna try that. And then I'm gonna try this stuff, this Nason chassis black. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. It's a little cheaper. I decided not to go the route of chassis saver on this one because we went down to bare metal. It would help with some of these areas on this rear axle and my rear section of frame that was in worse shape. It would help. But I'm going to go with the epoxy primer sealer. I think that's just a better bet overall. It's a lot more expensive, but I shouldn't say a lot. Chassis saver is pretty expensive, but it's a little more expensive. So that being said, that's where we're at, guys. So my goals for this weekend, Memorial Day is coming up next weekend. I'm going camping. I really want the Lodestar to be back in here in the barn. So my goals, it's Saturday right now. My goals are by the end of Sunday, this thing's painted. We'll have all of our shocks and bump stops and airbags and all that stuff bolted back in. And then I'm hoping, I've got a machine here, I'd like to have that engine at the very least set back in, and I'd really like to have the transmission as well bolted into place. And that way I can take this thing out, it'll be all painted, we'll put it across the street out of the way, we'll throw a tarp over the engine, and I can get the Lodestar back in here and protect it inside the barn where I like it. And we'll get to this, we've got a cab to fit is the next step. So that'll be the next thing you see on this project is me working on that. But for the meantime, let's get going on this paint project. I am pumped to see this thing all in beautiful gray epoxy primer and then in beautiful black paint. And then that beautiful Cummins tan engine to go in. And we're going to get that transmission dropped in too. I haven't decided on transmission color yet. I couldn't find the fuller red. So the closest I got was some of this GM, engine red. I got a couple cans of it. I thought about just going black, but man, I kind of like the idea of the orange transmission, so we might just rattle can that bad boy. But at any rate, I'm going to get after it. I'll bring you guys back here in a little bit. All right, well, as predicted, I gave up on breaking tires off of rims pretty quick. Because, yeah, I didn't feel like doing that. It was a pain in the butt. I got as far as getting valve cores out and standing on the tires, and these low pros are a little bit of a pain in the ass too. So we'll take those in and let the tire guys do those because I just don't feel like monkeying with it. We'll do a swap later. So these three are the junk tires. We're just going to paint those tires, no big deal. These three we got all masked off on both sides. Climb over my row of tires here. Each tire is holding the next one up, so everything I've sprayed down with wax and grease remover. All I could do, guys, was basically put a spray bottle and just sprayed it. Not really on a blasted surface like this. You're not going to wipe it like you would on sheet metal, let's say on a cab. So regardless, and it wasn't like it was that dirty. I mean, I did a little welding on it after it came back from blast, but otherwise it's just blast debris. So for a frame, we're in good shape. Obviously, I elected to pull wheels and tires. I don't care about these hub ends too much, but I do want to get paint on them. Rotors are all going to be junk. They'll all get replaced. Those are just because the rotors are integral to the hub on a truck like this, so they need to stay on. So, but regardless, everything is, the only masking basically is that. Everything else on the truck goes black. I've got everything I need to protected. My direct to metal epoxy primer sealer has been activating for, I'd say every bit of a good hour, so about good to go there. I got to get some more materials and finish putting my gun together, and I'll put you up on the camera over there, and we'll shoot some paint. We're gonna go primer, we'll clean the gun, we'll go straight to black. Once the black's done, then I'll do the wheels and we'll call it a night. Okay, well, it's the next day. By the time I got done shooting everything, I was tired and probably a little crabby, and I didn't feel like filming. So I've got all my masking crap down and all my painting gears put away. Everything's done. It's all tacked up. I really like this chassis paint. I bought that Nason. I always find it a struggle to get a true satin black, and this is awesome. Just a beautiful satin black. Well, we'll see how it holds up, but yeah, came out nice. I can't tell you guys how hard it is. If you've never done it, man, it's hard to paint a chassis and to get into every nook and cranny. Painting a body is cake compared to doing chassis. That's just hard work. Kind of sucks, but it's done. So next step is I gotta get my engine crane sitting right outside this door here. I gotta get it assembled, and I want to get in and hook that transmission and get it hanging right here and get some paint shot on that. And while that's drying, I'm going to put all my chassis assembly stuff on, which I'm really looking forward to. That's always the fun part, is reassembling after paint. And then I think I was gonna, my brother-in-law has the backhoe I brought home from work for the weekend. He's using it at his house, and I think I might be able to get this engine crane in here. I might have to move a jack stand or two, but I think I can relocate those and get that Cummins, just use the crane rather than using the machine. And at the end of the day, I'll use the machine just to wheel this whole thing out. But so yeah, in the meantime, let's get going. I'm excited. This is progress. All right, well, a quick pause before I hook this damn transmission. I'm breathing a little heavy because I tell you what, I've had this engine crane now for 10, 12 years. It was my dad's prior to that. And I am never letting this thing go. But I tell you what, I curse it every time I put it together. Unfortunately, until I build my barn, I don't have the room to keep this thing assembled. So I put it over in storage in my old school bus. When I don't need it, when I need it, I put it back together. But I tell you what, there's no way. I mean, this thing is portions quarter. There's probably some 3/16 in that. That tube might be 3/16. That's 5/8, which means the main upright's 5/8 tube. The lower's all quarter. There's no way that thing weighs less than, the lower is easily, it's all I can do to pick it up. It's every bit of 250, 300 pounds. The big upright's probably a solid 175. And then another, probably 150 plus cylinder. This thing's damn near 500 pounds, maybe more, all in. It is no freaking joke. I don't know its capacity. Doesn't really say on the tag, but I don't know if 5,000 indicates that it's 5,000 pounds. So it's a 2 1/4 ton. Probably is. Man, this thing is a beast. And that's why. I'm one of those people that, I'm not a total everything, nothing's built like it used to be. There are some things that are modern that are built really awesome. As much as I like old trucks, I'm not going to knock that truck out there. Yeah, it's expensive, but man, it just does what I ask it to do every single day without question. And old trucks like my Lodestar, yeah, I'm sorry. As much as your fond memories might tell you that old trucks were amazing, you had to work on them nonstop. I'm old enough to remember that. So some things that are new are awesome. This is one of those that you'd be hard pressed to buy an engine crane that is as stout as this thing is, unless you just built it yourself. So anyway, I'm gonna hook up a transmission now. Sorry for the rant. I'm off my soapbox. All right, guys. Well, this is the extent of my cleanup on transmission. So I resealed the top case, and I resealed the shifter plate, and then basically took a wire wheel to it, wire brush, little nail scaling, and parts cleaner and wax grease remover in a spray bottle, and we're as ready as we're gonna get, to be honest. So, and you can see a little bit, I don't know if you guys can see, but see that orange showing through, that fuller burnt orange. Again, my Chevy engine red is not perfect, but it's close. All right, guys, well, I jumped ahead a little bit. I didn't film. We got the engine on the crane. Oh, we got wheels mounted. We got transmission painted. Actually did put some new grade 8 bolts in on the bell housing. Did some masking and some pulling of some parts. We pulled off the speed sensor. The data plate we pulled off. So, man, that thing's looking tough. I'll be honest with you. I'm digging the Chevy orange. I love the combo of Cummins tan, clean black, Chevy orange. Let's look at that all together. And then the GM wheel color that I totally screwed up. Picked a color off of a sheet, and it's not even close. It's like a off-white tan. But, you know, to be honest with you, that and Cummins tan, I think if you went to a paint shop, they'd probably be on the same color swatch. They're in the same family, so it works. And then I picture that the body color, the teal 90s GM color I'm picking for the body. Man, this is all gonna work together really good. So anyway, bags are on, shocks are on, everything's got anti-seize on it. She's aired up. What else we got? We got people driving Gators. Did front shocks. Couldn't do both sway bar end lengths, so I didn't even tighten. Got a washer sitting here, doesn't belong there. So I didn't even tighten this one because you got to drop them at the same time. Because one of the two boxes I had, somebody had bought it and returned it. They bunged up the threads. They stole the top nut, probably because they bunged it all up because they don't know what the hell they're doing. They probably bought the wrong part, and then jackasses returned it, got a refund, and now the part store is going to get screwed because I'm going to get my money back and get a replacement. Ultimately, Moog will probably get screwed because people are losers. If you screw up a part, just own it, guys. Jesus Christ, people are scam artists. But anyway, I got the jack all the way down, try to give me some clearance. My brother-in-law's on his way back with my tractor, but man, it's a pain in the butt to get in and out of the machine and constantly be playing, and I don't want to scratch anything, so I'm thinking if I can make this work, which I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try. I think the engine crane is the ticket here. So we're going to give her hell. Got all my grade 8 hardware all ready to go. We got anti-seize. We got all of our bushings. We're ready to put a motor in. After that, we're going to mount front wheels, which are going to come right back off, to be honest with you. We're just going to mount wheels long enough to get it across the street, and then I got to take a batch of wheels and tires to my tire shop to have them swap on the permanent ones. But, yeah. Man, I love these colors. I thought I'd hate that Chevy orange, and I friggin' love it. right, guys. Well, I effed around with this long enough. Grew tired of it. I don't know why I didn't just do what I'm about to do, which is go across the street and get my transmission jack. It's a pain in the ass. It's heavy. It's greasy. That's why I don't want to do it. But they make transmission jacks for a reason, though, right? So that's what I'm going to use. And then I can slide this thing out and check, because I don't have a clutch alignment tool. And I bet you it's not perfect. That's probably why it's not dropping in. So, excuse me. A combination of those two things, I think, will solve my woes. So anyway, I cut a 2x4 and got a temporary transmission crossmember here, so I get my one jack out of there. Now we can slide it in and go to work. All right, well, I'm breathing heavy again because my transmission jack is a lot like my engine crane. This transmission jack identifies as a goddamn 4-pulse lift, I think. It's from when men were men and jacks were jacks. There's no way that thing weighs less than 200 pounds. It's a friggin' beast. So I would lift an 18 speed all day with this thing. So, whew, it's a lot of work dragging out of a frickin' school bus and into the back of that and in here. So that bad boy might find a home in here. And I say that, and then 2 years from now, when I haven't used it, I'll try to put it out somewhere else. But anyway, let's get this thing under here and see what we can accomplish. All right, well, you know, I fought and I fought even after I had the transmission jack. Pulled everything back out. I made myself a clutch alignment tool. Well, I didn't make myself anything. I loosened the pressure plate bolts, and I took a big screwdriver and just played until I got as close as I could get it. Tighten the pressure plate back up. Went to put it on, just could not frickin' get it. Had straps pulling tension. And then I realized when I went to grab this guy, yeah, it was tight. I hadn't taken the tabs of the clutch fork and put it over the clutch release bearing, so it was wedged, and that's why I had about a 1-inch gap. And once I pulled everything back out, got that fork where it should be, she sent right home. So proof that you do not need a clutch alignment tool. I mean, it's a pain in the ass, but you can get her done. So it's in, the engine's in, transmission's in, everything's bolted up tight. Engine mounts are bolted up. After I put wheels and tires on, that side's got that's one of the tires that's junk. So this is one that was masked. Gives you a good feel for the color combo. I really dig those, between the wheels and the engine and trans color. I'm digging it. Even though those are going to get covered up with simulators, but regardless, my downpipe, if you remember from a few videos ago, I tried to make my own. It's supposed to go straight down there. It definitely does not clear the flywheel housing. So right now I've got it mounted out this way, and guys, I'll be honest with you, this may be where it goes. If I can get this that's real close to the firewall. And if I'm massaging firewall and massaging cab floor already, so if we need to do some massage in here and, you know, get this thing to come out, I want to run a single stack on this truck right at the back of the cab here. So it would actually be ideal. I could hang exhaust hangers off of my cab mounts here and put a piece of flex right there, get me down, and I don't know, we may run outside the frame. We may be able to tuck it down and still run inside the frame and then come out, but I don't know. We'll see. Regardless, though, that is it. That was a lot of work. A whole lot of work. But it's blasted. It's painted. It's got custom air ride suspension. It's got a cleaned up Cummins. It's got a cleaned up trans. It's got a good front axle. It's got 3 leaf front springs. and it's ready to start fitting the cab. So when the next video you're going to see on this truck is I'm going to get that old junk cab from across the street, and we're gonna cut it a little above the belt line. We're gonna pull the doors, we're gonna pull the interior, we're gonna cut it off so it's just a floor, and then we're gonna set it up on here, and we're gonna cut a big hole out of the tunnel just so it can sit where it needs to sit, and then and we'll weld on cab mounts accordingly. We'll have to cut, these two are gonna have to get cut off. My pretty fresh paint, they're gonna have to get, I believe it's lowered if I remember right. Thanks to somebody who made a comment on that, guy who's done this before. So it won't be the only extended cab 3500 HD. And then I've got the cab mounts that are sitting right out here in the gravel that I'm gonna have to weld on back here. So we'll get that all situated that way. Then once that's done, we'll also have a feel for what that tunnel cutout needs to be. And then I can cut that hole in this cab, and we'll get this cab set up on, and we'll build new sheet metal around that transmission. And once that's done and tacked into place, we can start the bodywork process on that cab and get her in paint. And that's the next step, is to get that cab and a front clip on, and then it's time for drive shafts and all kinds of good stuff. Love the driveline angle. I don't know if you guys can see it, but again, I've mentioned this before, but this truck had a severe down angle on the engine and trans because I wanted to make it, at the time, I wanted to make it fit under a stock cab. Well, that bell housing and that transmission does not want to fit under a stock cab. Cummins, a 5.9 Cummins fits all day in a 88 to 98 Chevy. That bell housing and that Fuller 6-speed does not. So, you know, previously that oil pan was almost hitting the steering bar and the tie bar. You can see I have, 4 inches to spare. This suspension could completely bottom out. We still wouldn't hit it. Obviously, it's going to sink a little bit more too once the weight of the cab goes on. Although the weight of this engine and trans is far more than the cab, so it ain't going to sink much more. And then this transmission was not riding very high off the ground. If you looked at this truck, that transmission hung well below the bottom of the frame rail, and I would say only about 10 inches above the ground when it was running down the road. You can see now she's got 16 inches probably to spare. Driveline angle is beautiful, so I've got that set for 2.5 degrees down. I've got my axle set for 2.5 degrees up, and I just visually, they're nuts. They're perfect. And we can set drive shafts now. So, you know, you live and you learn. You do more projects, you get better at them as you go. This thing still isn't perfect. I'm not a welder, I'm not a fabricator, I'm not a truck builder, but I'm good enough at all of them that I can get by. So we make it work. Every project teaches me something new, and we make it work. We figure it out. That's the way life works. You make do and you figure it out. So that being said, I'll let you guys watch while I pull this thing out of the barn. I'm gonna run it across the street. I'm gonna tie down a tarp over that engine and trans, and honestly, she's probably gonna sit for at least 2 weeks. This coming weekend, you know, you're gonna see this later, I'll be honest with you, but in real life right now, this coming weekend is Memorial Day weekend, so I'm out of town. I'm gonna be in that, you can see the nose of that fifth wheel right there. I'm gonna be up north camping, and I might have some footage for you because I'm going to the east side of the state of Michigan, northeast side, and on Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, I am going to, what's it called? The Big Rig Showdown or Big Rig Shootout at Onaway Speedway, which has turned into a huge national event, basically semi-truck drag races. So going to that. The following weekend, I'll put out another separate little video about it, but I'm planning on heading to the first annual GMC Jamboree, which is Dane Scott on YouTube. I'm sure a lot of you guys watch him, but I am planning on driving the L9000 and pulling the Lodestar on my gooseneck behind it and making the trip to almost Pennsylvania, and I'm going to be at the show. So that's going to take up my weekend there. And then after that, we might have some time to start piddling away at this. But I've also got a buddy I got to help move. I've got a house that I'm painting in the process of. I don't know if you guys remember, but I've built an overhang. I stripped off the vinyl siding to expose the board and batten siding on the front. I've put in new light fixtures, retrimmed everything out, and I've got to finish pulling shutters and get this thing, all the nail holes caulked and filled, and I gotta wash it and paint it. I'm doing the barn too that I'm standing in. Whew. And then on July 15th, I leave for vacation for 2 weeks out west. So there's a lot to cram into this summer, but we're going to plug away at this little project here and there. But for the time being, it is going outside. It's going to go across the street so I can get my precious Lodestar back in here and get her out of the weather. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's get this thing out of here. Let's hook it up to a backhoe and see what happens.